All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 119 of Sports Hype. A lot to get through today as it's been a minute since we've done a podcast. First and foremost, we'll go through the recap of our favorite teams' games. The Steelers did have a bye this past week, so Gio had the week off. I'll go through a recap of the Lakers or the Cowboys' third straight loss and give my thoughts on what this season has become for the Cowboys. It won't be anything good. I'll give you a sneak peek about that. We'll also touch on Dak Prescott, expected to miss multiple weeks with a hamstring injury that he suffered in the loss against the Falcons, and we'll we'll give our thoughts on if it's time for the Cowboys to tank or see what they got in Cooper Rush and see if they can get a few more wins in their season. And then we'll go through some other quarterback injuries and wide receiver injuries. First and foremost, Deshaun Watson rupturing his Achilles, being out for the season. Obviously, we'll go through what this injury means for the Cleveland Browns. A big injury for the Texans wide receiver Stephon Diggs tore his ACL. He is also out for the season. So we'll provide our feedback on what that injury means for the Texans. And another torn ACL, Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL and MCL. He is also, of course, out for the season. So we will go over what this injury means for the already decimated 49ers offense, although they are getting CMC back this week, most likely, which will help them. And then for the Bucks, another decimated offense already without Mike Evans with a hamstring injury. In the same game the hamstring injury occurred, Bucks wide receiver Chris Godwin suffered a dislocated ankle, which forced him out for the year. So we'll share our thoughts on what this means for the Bucks. And then we did have a trade this past week. The Panthers traded wide receiver Deontay Johnson and a 2025 sixth-round pick to the Baltimore Ravens for a fifth-round pick in this year's draft. So we will go through what this trade means for both teams. And then the Titans traded DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 2025 fifth-round pick that can become a fourth-rounder with incentives. So we'll go over what this move means for both the Chiefs and the Titans. I can tell you as of right now, DeAndre Hopkins is making a stamp for the Chiefs right now. As of right now, in this Monday night game, already has 6 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. So it's looking like a good move for the Chiefs. And then we'll get into some a head coaching change to wrap up the NFL. The Saints fired head coach Dennis Allen and named special teams coach Darren Rizzi as the interim head coach. So we'll go through whether or not this was the right move by the Saints or not. And then to get to the NBA, a lot of extensions happened about 2 weeks ago prior to the season beginning. Magic and Jalen Suggs agreed on a 5-year, $150.5 million rookie contract extension. So we'll provide our feedback on this move by the Magic and whether or not we think it was the right move. Hawks and Jalen Johnson agreed on a 5-year, $150 million rookie contract extension. So we'll share our thoughts on this move by the Hawks. Aaron Gordon and the Denver Nuggets agreed on a 4-year, $133 million contract extension with a player option in the 2028 through 2029 season. So we'll go over this move by the Nuggets. The Pelicans and Trey Murphy agreed on a 4-year, $112 million rookie contract extension, and we will provide our feedback on this move for the Pelicans. Jalen Green and the Houston Rockets agreed on a 3-year, $106 million rookie contract extension. We will share our thoughts on this move by the Rockets. And then round out the podcast, we'll touch on the Pelicans guard DeJounte Murray suffering a fractured hand in the season opener. He underwent surgery and will be out for 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll provide our feedback on what this injury means for the Pelicans. First and foremost, though, as I said, I will be recapping the Cowboys' loss to the Falcons, their third straight loss after beating Geo Steelers over there. That feels like forever ago as a Cowboys fan. This Falcons loss was honestly, I'm going to be honest, I went in expecting a loss. I go in expecting a loss every week now just because I don't think this team has what it takes to turn the season around. I'd say after the 49ers game, when we were up 10-3 at half, looking like we had a chance to win, and then come out in the third quarter and have a stinker and let the 49ers score, what was it, like 20 points in one quarter to win the game. After that, I was like, yeah, this season is a wash. It's time to tank. Even before the Dak Prescott injury came out today, I was like, yeah, it's time to tank. Like, honestly, no matter whether this team is healthy or not, we saw what it was healthy too. We lost to the Saints, got smoked at home to the Saints, healthy, defense and all. And everyone's saying it's injuries, especially Jerry Jones. No, it's not injuries. It's coaching. It's the team being soft. It's the team not executing. We have way too many false starts, way too many holding penalties. We don't have any weapons for Dak Prescott to throw to. We don't have a run game. This season was over before it started with Jerry Jones not doing anything in the offseason. And honestly, I expected it to be bad. I'm just surprised at how bad it was, because how bad it is, because I didn't expect it to be this bad. I knew it'd be a struggle to win games and it'd be a struggle to make the playoffs, but I thought we'd still at least get 10 wins at least. But as of right now, I'll be surprised if we get 5 wins, especially with the news coming out about Dak Prescott making the playoffs or missing multiple weeks today. But what do you have to say about it before I add some more, Gio?
You said it perfectly. Holding penalties, defensive, missed executions, offensive missed executions, no run game, barely a passing game. What does this all come and, pretty much is relying on? That's coaching. You look at perfect scenario over in Washington. One, do they have a better quarterback? Do they have a better quarterback? Is Jaden Daniels better than Dak Prescott? Yes or no?
As of right now, I'd have to say yes.
For all the years that you've argued with me that Dak Prescott's a top 5 quarterback in the league, and this is what you got to say after.
Well, people are saying this year's on Dak. It's not on Dak. This year is on the front office. It's on the coaching and the front office, mainly the front office, in my opinion, not giving Dak the weapons he needs to succeed. When Dak has the weapons to succeed, which, let's be honest, he needs a run game to be a successful quarterback. He needs to have a team that can establish the run. We've seen what he can do when he has a team that can establish run. Last year, he put up MVP numbers, was second in the MVP race. When he has the weapons that he needs, he is a top 5 quarterback. But he is not one of those quarterbacks that can go out and make something out of nothing like a Patrick Mahomes can, like he has this year.
Well, let's just, because let me finish my thought on this. The fact is, yes, Washington has a better run game. Everything else, I would say Dallas has better talent in every other position.
They don't have a better O-line, and I'd say they don't have better receivers.
But here's
outside
the thing.
of CD.
But here's the thing. This is just pure. You look on paper before the season started. You say Dallas, Washington. Who has a better team? You're gonna say Dallas. The only reason why Washington is where they are right now is purely, in my opinion, all the flowers go to Dan Quinn.
100%. I agree.
All the flowers go to Dan Quinn.
100%.
That's why they are where they are.
That defense has no talent, but they're playing with heart, which is something that the Cowboys lack.
100%. His whole team is playing with heart. That is the point I'm trying to make. When you play with heart, when you execute plays correctly, when you're playing for each other instead of a contract, instead of whatever what the media has to say about you, you're playing together. You're going to win games. That's exactly what Washington's doing. That's exactly what Jaden Daniels is doing over in Washington with Dan Quinn. You look at Dallas, they're not doing that because, one, they don't have coaching. Jerry Jones doesn't know how to pick a coach for his life. And two, you can honestly put any – I heard that – I feel like – who said it? Was it? I forget who it was. It could have been Louis Riddick. It could have been or it could have been Ryan Clark. Every player in the NFL is good. Everyone who makes it to the NFL who is a starter is talented, right?
Correct.
It's whether or not they have coaching behind them, and it's whether or not they have players playing with them instead of playing for each other instead of playing for themselves. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, and like you said, that all comes back to coaching. The players, no matter what Jerry Jones says, the players have lost hope in Mike McCarthy. The fans have lost hope in Mike McCarthy. The only one who continues to have hope for some reason And Mike McCarthy is Jerry Jones. And I have a quote right here that he said today that really fired me up because there's no reason to have hope in Mike McCarthy, yet this is what Jerry Jones said. He said, I'm good with Mike. I know how hard he works. I like his football mind. I know how good he works. He's got, in my mind, an outstanding coaching record. Okay.
Oh,
He's really good with the players. They think highly of him. No, they do not. He's got a lot of fire in his belly. No, he does not. Every time I see him on the sideline, he's standing there like this, looking at the scoring board, wondering what happened. No, he has no fire. If he had fire, he'd be in his players' faces like a damn Dan Campbell firing them up. He does not have a fire for the game. So I'm just giving you this. I like the positives I see. What positives? I haven't seen any positives this year. Have you? Because I haven't.
have I?
Yeah, have you seen any positives? Because he says, I like the positives I see. I haven't seen any positives.
There's one positive I see right now. You know what that is?
What?
The fact that your two highest paid players are earning 49% of your salary cap in 2025. How about that? Now, that's a positive. I mean, they got to be the two best players in the league if they're earning that.
According to Jerry Jones, yeah. But he goes on. He says, and by the way, frankly, some of the best coaches I've been around, I got to see them when times were bad. Jones then mentioned how the Cowboys only won one game during Jimmy Johnson's first season, 1989, 30 years ago. Get it out of your head, Jerry. It's not 30 years ago. We're in the present. We're not in the past. I'm sick of him using the past as a scapegoat. Stop.
But
using
here,
the past.
but here's the thing. What happened after that?
And then he says, and then went on to win Super Bowls. I've had experience of having times when you were questioning and thinking about maybe doing it differently, but I've had good experience with staying with it. There's no reason to stay with Mike McCarthy. Like, if he stays with Mike McCarthy after this season, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know what to say. It will be the worst decision. It would be the most asinine decision he could ever make.
One season, right? One season where he won 116 or whatever? Jimmy?
Yeah.
He won two Super Bowls afterwards in a short period of time.
Like,
how long has Mike McCarthy had to transform this team into a Super Bowl contending team? He has had at least 4 or 5 years under his belt.
He's had 5. This is his 5th year.
He's had 5 years under his belt to transform this team into a, and it's not like had gotten better. You guys have progressively, surprisingly, have gotten worse every season.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I get it. He wins 12 games. He wins 12 games not because of his coaching. He wins 12 games last year because of his defense and his defensive coordinator. The year before, because of his defense and his defensive coordinator. It's not because of his coaching. Also, we had, I hate to say it, but we had the easiest schedule pretty much in the entire league. There's a reason we won 12 games. Now we're playing against good teams. We're seeing the real coach Mike McCarthy is. And let's be honest, in Green Bay, he was not the one who got them to the Super Bowl. It was Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers also won them that Super Bowl.
Even then, how in the world do you have that great of a team and only win one Super Bowl? Just one.
Like, exactly. Like, I don't understand what Jerry Jones sees in Mike McCarthy to say what he says. Like, it makes absolutely no sense.
I agree.
And, like, honestly, like I said, after the 49ers game, I was hoping that the Cowboys would start to tank. And now with Dak Prescott's injury, I believe that they have valid reason to tank, because if they were to tank with Dak healthy, people would be like, "Oh, why are they losing games?" But now that Dak's unhealthy, they're like, "Oh, well, Dak's hurt. No wonder they're losing." So I think this is the perfect excuse for the Cowboys to be like, "All right, let's go get as high a pick as possible, draft a running back." Hopefully, in my mind, I want Ashton Johnson from Boise State. I think that'd be a great get for the Cowboys, and then see what we can do next year. But this year, like you said on the previous podcast we did, after we lost to the Detroit Lions, you said it was time for the Cowboys to wrap up their season. I, at the time, was not ready to do that. Yeah. I said we need to lose 3 or 4 more. We've lost 3 in a row. Probably going to be 4 in a row after the Eagles. Probably going to be 5 in a row after the Texans, and 6 in a row after the Commanders. Like, it's just the season is a wash. It's time to let it go and build on for next year.
I agree. I mean, like I said, I thought it was well timed when you guys lost to Detroit. It just seemed like you guys didn't have any heart out there. It looked like obviously coaching was horrendous. And if you ask me, what you guys should have done is like I said, like you said now, rest Dak. That's what I said. Rest CD. Trey Lance, let him develop a little bit.
Well, we're not going to play Trey Lance. Cooper Rush is going to play. They've already announced that.
I know, but at the same time, if you want a future quarterback, if you want a quarterback that can actually win you games, I don't think Cooper's that guy. Obviously, he won games, but
he's won games. Yeah,
conversion. He can't score touchdowns for his life.
Correct. But I also don't think Trey Lance is a quarterback that can win games either. That's just me, though.
I don't think he's been given a real chance. I mean, you look at what happened with Sam Darnold. You look at what happened with Baker Mayfield. You look at what happened to some of these other guys that are now performing well at other teams. One, Trey Lance didn't have an opportunity with the San Francisco 49ers. He got hurt pretty much, 2 games in when he played with it. And then Brock Purdy out of nowhere became the best player in the league. And then you have him go to you guys, and he's playing behind Dak Prescott. One, I don't think he's a good mentor. Yes, I think he's a great player and a great person, but for the game's sake, I think Russell Wilson, I think Aaron Rodgers, those types of guys that know how to explain the game, to perfection, right, and understand all the different plays and reads. Those are the types of guys I want to have mentor my young quarterback. I don't think Dak Prescott's that guy. I don't really think, to be honest, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, I think those guys are great players. I personally just don't think they would be a great mentor for my young quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's another reason why I don't think Trey Lance will, if we give him a chance, say at the end of the year, I don't think he'll develop the way that we expect him to because of the fact that he didn't have the best mentor or best coaching at Dallas or at San Francisco. But we basically already touched on, should the Cowboys tank? In my opinion,
yes.
We both say yes. And I think, honestly, Dak Prescott, he might go on IR, might not be able to return till mid-December. Honestly, I don't want to see him the rest of the year because there's no point. By that time, we'll probably be at best 4-8, 4-9, probably 3-9, 3-10. That's my guess. So what is the point of bringing him back when your season's already a wrap? I think Dak Prescott should take the rest of the season off. I know he is a competitive guy and won't want to, but at the same time, you got to do what's best for the player when a season is already over the way it is for the Cowboys.
Right.
And I also would say we should do the same thing with CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, he looked very much in pain against the Atlanta Falcons, and he played through it. Like I said, sometimes you got to do what's best for the player as a coach. And I think what's best for CeeDee, not only for the team, but like for draft position wise, but for CeeDee as well. Like a sprained AC joint is no joke. Playing through that is a lot of pain. You land on it wrong, you could severely hurt yourself even more. I think it's just best for the Cowboys to rest these guys as much as possible. And like I said, build on to next year.
For sure.
But moving on to the Browns and Deshaun Watson rupturing his Achilles. So what do you think this injury means for the Cleveland Browns?
I don't think it means too much. Either way, he wasn't performing well. I think obviously we saw what Jameis Winston had to do this past weekend. I don't think he's the answer as well. Although he might have great games here and there. I think Jameis is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. This injury really doesn't matter too much in the Browns' case because they're moving so many pieces as it is. I mean, they just traded Amari Cooper, so they were obviously trying to get rid of him. Whether or not that was the right move, I don't think it was. I think they tried to have too many pieces. I think Njoku, I think, Judy, obviously him, having, what's his face, the running back, Nick Chubb.
Oh, Nick Chubb.
Right. I think they just had too many pieces. I think they moved the wrong pieces, and unfortunately, it's just not working out. I think it's time to obviously rebuild that team once again, just because of where they're at in the AFC. and how they're performing this year. So I don't really think this injury really mattered too much to them.
Yeah, I agree. I think the season was already a wash as is. But I will say this, like the Browns fans, I understand Deshaun Watson isn't the best quarterback and hasn't been the best quarterback for you. But to boo a guy when he's down
That's terrible.
that's just unacceptable. Like Jameis Winston said it. He sees the you don't see the work he puts in. Like he still puts in the work. He still goes out, puts his body on the line every week for you guys. And the fact that he gets hurt and you guys boo or you guys cheer because he's hurt and he hasn't won you games, that's just unacceptable. And I don't think that that was right by the Browns fans, and I think it was right by Jameis Winston to stick up for him the way he did because that was just messed up in my mind.
Right, for sure.
But getting back to the injury, yeah, I don't think it makes a difference. As you said, Deshaun Watson hasn't been what they expected him to be ever since they traded for him and gave him that massive contract. Jameis Winston, he had one good week against the Ravens and then fell back down to earth against the Chargers. I mean, it was bound to happen, bound to have one good week. I don't think the Browns are going to win many more, if any more games. And I think with their top three or whatever pick they have, I think they should take a quarterback because Deshaun Watson isn't the answer, and neither is Jameis Winston. So I think that we'll see a new Browns quarterback in that uniform next year. But it's a matter of can they choose the right quarterback because they've had issues choosing the right one for many years now.
Sure.
But moving on to the Texans and wide receiver, Stephon Diggs tearing his ACL. So what do you think this means for the Texans, Gio?
Yeah, this sucks. Fortunately though, they still have Tank Dell. Or I think Nico Collins is he back now?
They haven't said he's going to be back this week, but they expect him to be back, if not this week, very soon.
So you're getting Nico Collins back. You're getting, you have Tank Dell. You have great receivers. Yes, Stephon was a great addition to your receiving core, but you still had enough last year to push, past some teams in the postseason. And now they have some experience. I think they're going to do well either way. It was just, yes, it was a tough blow, but they had a gauntlet of weapons, and I think they're still going to be successful.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, we saw Stroud needs at least Diggs or Nico back because he really struggled against the Jets. Although the Jets defense is elite, but he did not look like himself, and he hasn't looked like himself since Nico went down. So I think once Nico gets back, like you said, I think they're going to be much better. They're still 6-3, so they're still getting wins and squeaking by. So they can still get wins. Obviously, this sucks for Stephon Diggs and for the Texans because he was such a great player for them. But like you said, once Nico gets back, he'll pair up with Tank Dell just like he did last year, and they'll still tear up opposing defenses. But it's when the playoffs roll around that I think we will see the loss of Stephon Diggs really hurt the Texans more than ever.
Right.
Moving on to the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk tearing his ACL and MCL, being ruled out for the season. What's your thoughts on this injury for the 49ers, Gio?
Yeah, that's a big blow in my opinion. I think he was a sneaky receiver for them. Definitely people thought that he, Purdy relied on Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey. Ayuk was that guy, right? Whenever those guys were targeted, Ayuk was wide open. And, it just sucks. That team hasn't been healthy the entire season.
Yeah, it's been a very rough year for the 49ers injury-wise. Obviously, CMC hasn't played all year, but they expect him to be back this week, which is a huge boost. Kittle's been down and out. Debo's been down and out a few times. Their O-line, like pretty much everyone on their team has been hurt, and that's why they're 4-4 as of right now. But I think getting CMC back and pairing him with Jordan Mason, who was a great back in CMC's absence, will be a huge boost because they can obviously losing Brandon Ayuk is very tough because, like you said, that was Purdy's guy on a third down that they needed, a touchdown that they needed, whatever it may be. Ayuk always got the job done, so it definitely stings to lose a guy like Brandon Ayuk. But getting obviously CMC back, hopefully he stays healthy because tendonitis is no joke. So hopefully he stays healthy. But getting a guy like him back really helps because they can slide him. They can put Jordan Mason at running back and slide CMC in the slot where Ayuk would be. He's that elusive and versatile.
Yeah,
So I think that will really help the 49ers. But yeah, losing Ayuk is terrible for the team that, like you said, has already had an amount of injuries all season long. But I think once they get healthy and hopefully stay healthy, they'll get on a roll like they always do late in the season and make a push for the playoffs.
for sure.
Speaking of another playoff team, the Tampa Bay Bucks, and unfortunately, wide receiver Chris Godwin suffered a dislocated ankle about 2 weeks ago against the Ravens, and he was ruled out for the season. So, what's your thoughts on this injury for the Bucks, Gio?
Yeah, let's go back to back. Let's knock two birds out with one stone. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out, right? Both
Yeah.
out for the season.
No, Evans is out 3 weeks. They think after the bye he'll be back, which their bye is week 11.
Okay. Either way, this is a huge blow. Both of them going down, both 1 and 2
In
for
one
that
game, too.
in the same game. Chris obviously I don't think should have. I know he wanted
No,
to play and out that game, but they shouldn't have played him that late in the game.
no.
Moving forward now, they have a tough schedule. I think that this NFC, what is this? NFC South they got.
Yeah,
They're in
NFC South.
that's tough, man. And for them to try and win this, division.
Well, I think it's between them and the Falcons because the Saints and Panther seasons are over.
Yeah, but if it's just tough because you said it yourself, the Falcons. That's Kirk Cousins. That's you like that? I mean, my goodness. They are
And they already lost to them twice. So they got swept.
right. The Falcons beat them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So I mean, you look at that, they have to win their division for them to go ahead and make a playoff spot without those two for the next couple of weeks. I don't see them winning. They're obviously not going to win tonight. So we'll see, but at the same time, it's going to be very tough for them to make a playoff spot without those two guys.
Well, they are up 17-10 right now at the beginning of the fourth, so they might pull off an upset. We'll see what happens. But we'll see there, buddy. But yeah, this injury definitely stings for the Tampa Bay Bucks because like you said, not having Mike Evans and not having Chris Godwin, your top two receivers for obviously even when Mike Evans comes back, not having Chris Godwin is still going to sting because Mike Evans is going to get double teamed, and that's when Mayfield would look to a Chris Godwin who was wide open in the middle. He's not going to have that anymore because of the fact that Chris Godwin's out for the year, and Mike Evans is getting probably double teamed, maybe even triple teamed over the top because of how little receiving help Mayfield has outside of Kate Otten and the running backs. Like it's going to be very tough for the Bucks to, like you said, win out and make the playoffs. But I think they have the talent to get it done. It's just a next man up mentality. So hopefully their next men can step up. But I do agree, like you said, that was unacceptable by Todd Bowles to leave his starters in a game that was already lost. Like I never understood why coaches do that. You risk injury, and like he saw, one of your best players gets hurt in a game that's already over. I don't think that was a smart move by Todd Bowles, but it's in the past, and hopefully the receivers for the Bucks can step up until Mike Evans gets back.
Right.
But moving on to the Panthers trading wide receiver Deontay Johnson and a 2025 6th-round pick to the Ravens for a 5th-round pick in this year's draft. So what do you think this trade means for both teams, Gio?
Yeah, I mean, Deontay's going to a great team. That man is going to our divisional rivals. He ain't going to do much, if I'm going to be honest. He drops the passes in the big moments. Zay Flowers is that guy. You have Mark Andrews, and you have Derrick Henry. What are you, the fourth option? Are you the Brandon Ayuk of the Baltimore Ravens?
I mean, yeah, most likely.
Okay, then. So, I mean, they also got Bateman still?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. I mean, it's over. For what they have, It is too many weapons. It is the exact same thing that the San Francisco 49ers problem has, right? It's just too many. Why do I say this is a problem? Because this is a good problem, but it's not at the same time. Who's going to make the game-winning touchdown? Who's going to make the game-winning play? Are we going to see Lamar Jackson run it into the end zone? Are we going to see, Derrick Henry? Are we going to see miscommunication? Like, something's going to happen. I think the Steelers have that division still, in my opinion. Our defense is way better than their defense. And, yeah, their offense is amazing. But if you guys don't have a game plan going into the game, and you're just purely relying on, and I think Harbaugh's a great coach, John Harbaugh's a great coach. But come on, man. I mean, you have to have a game plan. You cannot rely purely off of talent anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I did think that this was a good trade for the Ravens just to get another key, like another wide receiver to pair up with Zay Flowers, because they didn't have an obvious one. Like, yeah, Bateman's been doing his job, but he hasn't been doing it to the expectations that they had for him. So I think this was a good move for them. But now that you put it that way, I didn't think about that. Like, yeah, they do have a problem the 49ers have had in the past. Like, there's too many weapons, but that can also be a good thing because the defense doesn't know what's coming at them. And we've seen that for the 49ers. That's why they made the Super Bowl last year, because there was too many weapons. It was when the Super Bowl happened that the Chiefs took all their weapons away except CMC. Exactly. Like, once you take all of the weapons outside and let one beat you and live with them beating you, that's when it becomes a problem. And it might be a problem in the biggest moment for the Ravens, like you said.
For sure.
But I do still think it was a good trade for both teams, because obviously the Panthers are rebuilding, trying to tank and get as high of a pick as possible again. And then for the Ravens, I mean, like I said, they get a wide receiver to pair with Zay Flowers. And I think he's a great receiver. He's going to do his job for the Ravens. It's just a matter of, can he do it when the lights are the brightest?
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on to the Titans trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 2025 fifth-round pick that can become a fourth-rounder with incentives. What's your thoughts on this trade, Gio?
It's the best trade I've seen so far, other than Amari Cooper going to the Buffalo Bills. Why? They need a weapon. They've had so many injuries throughout this season. This is the best pickup I can think of. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, an amazing receiver. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback. You put those two together, you have Xavier Worthy. You have Rashee Rice coming back. You have these other guys coming back. You have Pacheco coming back. I mean, what are they, 6-0? 5-0?
They are 7-0.
They're 7-0. Yeah. Unbelievable. They're just straight unbelievable. And they added D-Hop. They can lose this game, sure. I don't think they will, but sure, go ahead and lose this game. We're still going to go to the playoffs. We're still going to go ahead and go to the Super Bowl because we have way too many weapons and we have the best quarterback. He'll make the right play. Do I think that Lamar Jackson is going to make the right play? I don't know. I haven't seen him do it in the postseason yet. I've seen Patrick Mahomes do it time and time again, and I will not bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I agree. I saw this trade and I was like, oh, this is going to rejuvenate DeAndre Hopkins' career. Because let's be honest, he had no quarterback at all in his tenure with Tennessee. Will Levis, Ryan Tannehill, Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, right.
Come on. They're not going to get him the ball the way Patrick Mahomes is going to get him the ball. First game, limited snaps, 6 for 66 and a touchdown already. He is showing that he is still the receiver that people don't think he is. He is still a top receiver in the league. It's just he hasn't had the quarterback play to show people that he is. And now that he does, he's going to put the league on notice again, which he is already tonight. I think this is a great trade for the Chiefs, and they're not done making trades either. They're still rumored for Adam Thielen, still rumored for Marshawn Lattimore. They're still trying to get better. And as long as they continue to get better, I don't think that any team in the NFL has a chance at stopping them, especially when Patrick Mahomes, like you said, has a track record of showing up when it matters most, and all the other AFC quarterbacks have a track record of folding.
Right.
But yeah, this was a great trade for Obviously, the Titans, because like the Panthers, they're rebuilding, so they're trying to get as much draft capital as possible. And then for the Chiefs, because they're trying to stay undefeated, one, and trying to make a push for the playoffs.
Right.
Well, not just the playoffs, push for a three-peat. Let's be honest.
That's it. Super Bowl or nothing. Super Bowl or bust.
But moving on to the Saints firing head coach Dennis Allen today and naming special teams coach Darren Rizzi as their interim head coach. What's your opinion on this move, Gio?
I mean, you lose 7 games in a row, something's going to happen. I think this is the best move. I think.
Well, they also lost to the Panthers too. So,
well, that being said, y'all should have fired McCarthy too. I'm not going to lie.
Well, yeah, we should have a while ago, but it's Jerry Jones. I'm not surprised we haven't.
But here's the thing: the Saints organization, we want to win. You're not cutting it. You have a team. You had Derek Carr. You have Alvin Kamara, right? Kamara. You have these other guys. Chris Olave, obviously, unfortunate, very unfortunate, got another concussion. But you have the pieces in order to win, and you're not cutting it. You had a great defense last year. You added pieces. You're not cutting it. We're moving on from you. That it's simple as that. I mean, we'll get a guy in there that wants to win and that will win. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I love this move because other franchises should do the exact same thing. If you're not, it's a cutthroat league. You're not cutting it, you're out. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should happen more often. I didn't expect the Saints to do it. I thought they'd wait till the end of the year because I just thought, it's the Saints. They've never. What?
Same thing with Salah, bro.
Yeah.
These two I know these two organizations aren't going to win a Super Bowl, but these two organizations know how to make moves in trying to have, a winning franchise.
Right. I think this was the right move by the Saints. As I was saying, I didn't think they'd do it until the end of the year just because it's been the Saints. Yeah. Their track record has been to wait. So I thought they'd wait. But I think, like you said, they've had enough. The last straw was the loss to the 1-6 Panthers. Yeah. Whatever record they're 1-7 Panthers. Like that was the last straw. You cannot lose, like you said, 7 straight and then lose to a team as bad as the Panthers and survive.
Right.
And survive in the NFL. Like it's just not going to happen, especially as a head coach and as a team that expects to win. Obviously, Derek Carr hasn't been playing the best, hasn't been healthy. The Saints have had injuries all over, but even with a healthy team, they weren't the best in the prior years. Like he doesn't have a good track record. He's a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. And I think this, like you said, was the perfect move for the Saints to instill a fire under them because obviously the players lost hope in him a while ago, and it showed in the locker room. And the Saints were like, all right, it's ready. It's time for a change. And to go back to what you said about Mike McCarthy, I think that's what the Cowboys have to do too, because obviously Ezekiel Elliott doesn't care about what Mike McCarthy thinks. He missed 3 team meetings before getting disciplined. If you miss 1 team meeting, your butt's out of there. I'm not even benching you. You're cut. You need to show up to the team meetings. The fact that he didn't even cut him and said, let him do it 3 times, be late to practice more than once, and then only bench him. Like, there's a reason that your players take you as a joke. It's because you're soft, which is why the Cowboys play soft. It's really that simple.
You're 100% right.
But yeah, I agree. I think more teams should take notes on what the Saints did, what the Jets did. It's like if you're not getting it done, I don't care if I have an interim head coach. It's not like I'm going to win with you. Maybe I have a better chance with the interim head coach than I do with you. I think that's why teams are scared because they're afraid, the interim head coach is going to keep losing too. Well, what's the big deal? You're going to lose with your head coach anyway.
That's exactly right.
So I think this should happen more often, but I don't expect it to because, as I said, owners, not just Jerry Jones, but all owners around the league are afraid that they're going to lose their fan base, one, and continue to lose games that they should win.
Right.
But moving on to the NBA, a lot of contract extensions, as I said. Starting with the Magic and Jalen Suggs agreeing on a 5-year, $150.5 million rookie contract extension. How do you feel about this move, Gio?
Love it. Very, very crucial for this team and their success in the future. He's one of the main components of that team and why they went in the playoffs and gave the Cavs such a hard time last year. I mean, he's a great talent, 5 years. I like it. He's only going to get better and develop into a better player. Look at Paolo right now. I mean, it's ridiculous what he's doing. Let's go Magic. Let's go Orlando. Let's go Franz. And let's go, the Wagner brothers. So, I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing down in Orlando right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great move by the Magic. Jalen Suggs was not only a terrific college player, but he's translated perfectly to the pros and is a great fit for the Orlando Magic. I think honestly it's time for them to move on from Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony hasn't been playing great this year. Anthony Black has been playing fantastic and been playing more minutes over Cole Anthony because of how poor Cole Anthony has been playing. And then obviously Jalen Suggs leads this team point guard wise anyway. So I think the odd man out eventually is going to be Cole Anthony. But I think it's a well-deserved contract for Jalen Suggs. And I think that the Magic are, once again, a deep horse in the East.
For sure.
Or dark horse. But moving on to a bottom of the barrel team as of right now, the Atlanta Hawks and Jalen Johnson agreeing on a 5-year, $150 million rookie contract extension. What's your opinion on this move, Gio?
Good for him. I mean, he's a good player. We've seen him develop a little bit, but at the same time, it's not going to make too much of a difference. I think Trae Young is going to be out of there sooner than later. John Collins, DeAndre Hunter is, injured all the time. They have good pieces. They have good young talent. Clint Capella's only getting older, so, I mean, we'll see what happens, but at the same time, it's not going to make too much of a difference, especially moving forward in the East.
So do you think Trae Young's going to force his way out, or do you think they'll just trade him?
I think he shouldn't have to force himself out. I think they should do what's best in his interest and their interest as well. If you can get a couple firsts for him, trade him, I don't know, to the Cavs, maybe, or maybe to the Lakers. Whatever the case may be, I think it's necessary for both parties to move Trae Young, just because one, he wants to win, and two, they need to rebuild, and I think he's the best asset they have right now.
Yeah, I agree. I'm honestly surprised it didn't happen in the offseason. I thought once they traded DeJounte Murray, they would go ahead and trade Trae Young as well. He was linked to a lot of teams, didn't get it done. But I expect it probably by the trade deadline that the rumors will start heating up again and he might be shipped by the end of the trade deadline. But yeah, I think this is a well-deserved for Jalen Johnson. He's been a great player for the Hawks. But like you said, it's not going to do anything because their team, they have all the pieces, like you said. They just can't put it together for some reason. And I think that's why they just got to start rebuilding. But Jalen Johnson is a great rebuilding block because he is probably your future once Trae Young does get shipped. Moving on to Aaron Gordon and the Denver Nuggets agreeing on a 4-year, $133 million contract extension with a player option 2028-29 season. What's your opinion on this move, Gio?
I love it. I mean, he's one of the main components, again, of why they won that championship in 2023, 2022, 2022.
Yeah, I think.
2023?
No, I think it was 2022.
No, 2022, I believe, was
that was the Warriors. Yeah, it was 2023.
For 2023, he was one of the main components, an amazing player. Fits really well with Nikola Jokic, fits really well with Jamal Murray. Really love this move. The only thing is, I need his chemistry to get better with Russell Westbrook, because I think those two guys, the way they're so explosive, can really make a huge dent into the game. And I really think that those two guys, if they start working together like they should, you got to watch out because they're going to be a problem in the league.
Yeah, I think this was a great move by the Denver Nuggets because, like you said, he's been a great component for them, not only in the 2023 championship run, but every other year prior to that as well. And he's been a great player for them. I think this was a well-deserved contract extension for him. I don't know if it's Russell Westbrook and Aaron Gordon the reason they're not succeeding as of right now, though. I believe it is because the lack of bench help they have. They don't have a bench. They lost Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who was a big player for them, and they lost Bruce Brown, and they've lost a lot. Jeff Green, they've lost a lot of talent off that bench, and I think that's why they're not exceeding their expectations as of right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
But moving on to the Pelicans and Trey Murphy agreeing on a 4-year, $112 million rookie contract extension.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this move, Gio?
I like it. I mean, Trey Murphy's a great talent. We'll see what happens in the future, but as of right now, the team's not really gelling as we want them to be. Obviously, you mentioned it. DeJounte got hurt. He's out for a couple weeks.
Zion's also been in and out.
Yeah. And then you have
CJ McCollum now hurt.
You have CJ McCollum hurt. You have the inconsistency of Brandon Ingram. And then obviously I think you're missing size too. Personally, I think you're missing a lot of size down in the depth charts. So great move, but at the same time, I don't really see the Pelicans doing as much as we thought they were going to do this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great, well-deserved contract extension for Trey Murphy because he has been a great player for them. But even Houston right now, like the Pelicans are injury decimated right now, and until they get healthy, which honestly it might be a little too late by the time they get healthy because it'll be around December, about halfway through the season. Like even if they make a push, the best push they get is for a play-in like they were in last year, and then they'll have to play a top team like the Oklahoma City Thunder again, the Denver Nuggets again. If the Lakers are up there, the Lakers again, who they haven't been able to beat. Like they're by the time they're healthy, it's just going to be too little, too late, unless Zion Williamson finds a way to get his body right and stay healthy and stop, messing around with the hamstring soreness that he's been having.
Right.
But like I said, great contract extension for Trey Murphy. He is a great player, but the Pelicans, I agree that it's not going to make a difference this season, but they definitely got to find a way to get healthy to make a push down the line.
For sure.
And for an up-and-coming team, Jalen Green and the Houston Rockets agreed on a 3-year, $106 million extension. What's your opinion on that extension, Gio?
Yeah, he's the focal point of that team right now. With Thompson, with Scar on that team too. I think they're a great young talented team. They have a good head coach as well. So we'll see what happens. But at the same time, I do believe it was a little early to give him that kind of contract.
Why is that?
Who knows if he's going to turn out? I hope this doesn't happen, but he might turn out to be like Cole Anthony type of player. Cole Anthony, first 3-4 years, was a phenomenal talent. We saw him transitioning into a star. I mean, he was in the Rising Stars game. He was with the dunk contest. We saw this kid becoming a star as we knew it. Then Paolo Banchero came in. Could be the exact same thing with Scar. I mean, that's how he's saying his name, right? The French kid.
I think he's on the Hawks. That guy.
He's on the Hawks. Who did they draft? They drafted another 7-footer.
Oh, they did? I remember them drafting Reed Shepherd from Kentucky. That's what I remember.
They drafted Reed. Well, either way, he might drop off. Jalen Green is a good player. Don't get me wrong. His shot's inconsistent. I don't think his IQ is where it should be for the NBA type of game. And as of right now, don't get me wrong, he's a great athletic kid. But athleticism is going to leave you. And when that happens, what's going to happen to you? Look at Russell Westbrook. He's a prime example of what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. I think it was a great extension for Jalen Green, though, personally, because I've liked what I've seen. But you do make valid points. I mean, people do get their money not only in the NBA, NFL as well, and then stop playing. Like they get their bag and then forget how to play the game that they love, like a Trevor Lawrence.
Look at Andrew.
Who?
Andrew Wiggins, when he got the bag when he was with Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean,
stopped playing.
It has an effect on you. Like they think they got their bag. They're like, okay, I don't have to work as hard. No, that's not a good mindset to have. That's not a mindset that winners have. Like that's not a mindset that Kobe Bryant had, Michael Jordan had, LeBron James have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. What matters is how hard you work, no matter what. So hopefully that's not the case for the Rockets. That hopefully they didn't give him this money and then he goes out and wastes his talent and potential. I hope that doesn't happen, but anything can happen. So you do make valid points, but I think it's going to work out in the right way for them. I think he, like you said, he's the vocal point of their team. He is their future. And I think he's going to continue to improve year after year. So I think this was a well-deserved contract for Jalen Green.
For sure.
And to round out the podcast, unfortunately, as we touched on, Pelicans guard DeJounte Murray did suffer a fractured hand in the season opener and underwent surgery. Will be out 4 to 6 weeks. I believe it's already been about a week and a half since this news dropped. So what do you think this injury means for the Pelicans, Gio?
I mean, they have a great team as it is. Focus on what you have right now. Obviously, CJ McCollum's hurt. He's going to come back. Brandon Ingram has to be more consistent. He has to be that guy we saw in 2021, 2022 when he was the most improved player pretty much. You have to look at Zion Williamson. He has to have, the accountability, right? He has to be the star guy on this team. Show us what he has. I mean, he just had what? He had a 34-point game and 10-assist game the other night. So he has to be more consistent with that. And then you also, like you said, you have Trey Murphy, who's a great player. You have Jose Alvarado, I still believe, who's still on that team, who's a great defensive player. So you have a great team put around you. The only reason why people are focusing on DeJounte is because he's a star in the league. And DeJounte was with the Hawks last year. The Pelicans still did what they did without DeJounte Murray.
Right.
He's a great addition, but you can still win without him and still force your way to the playoff spot. Like you said, going into the play-in game. And then hopefully with DeJounte Murray, you can win that game and move forward into the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously this loss does sting, and they were obviously in the season opener, they were a much different team than they were without DeJounte Murray so far. And I think that shows you how important DeJounte Murray is to the team. But like you said, it's next man up. They still have Zion Williamson when he's healthy. They still have Brandon Ingram. But yes, he's a very inconsistent player who needs to get much more consistent. I mean, his shooting numbers are way too inconsistent right now. So he definitely has to figure out a way to be more consistent. But if he can do that, and then you get CJ McCollum back, you still have Jose Alvarado, you get Trey Murphy back, you have Jordan Hawkins, you have Herbert Jones. Like, this team is full of talent. It's just a matter of putting the talent together. And once they do that, even without DeJounte Murray, and then add DeJounte Murray into the mix, they can make a run for the playoffs or the play-in, like you said, and potentially make some noise in the playoffs and upset a few teams.
Exactly.
But yeah, definitely a huge blow for the Pelicans to lose DeJounte Murray, especially in the season opener. But hopefully he'll get healthy soon and they can continue to stay afloat without him. But what's going on in the sneaker world over there, Gio?
What's going on is we have a lot of great drops. I'm going to only mention one of the drops coming out so far. We do have the 11s coming out. We have Black Cement 3s coming out. But my personal favorite right now that's coming out has to be the Wu-Tang Clan Dunks. Has never had a massive, public release drop. This is going to be the first time it releases, so it's coming out November 9th. Make sure to keep your eye on those.
Yes, sir. I'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. In the video game world, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 did drop this past Friday on October 25th. I did get the game as it was free on Game Pass for my end because I am a Game Pass subscriber. It is a very fun game. I really enjoy it, and it did improve a lot. I know a lot of Call of Duty players weren't happy with the previous Call of Duties, but I think this one is an improvement. So I would definitely encourage it if you are into Call of Duty or have been in the past. Other than that, thank y'all for watching, and see y'all on the next one.
All right, guys, we appreciate you watching. If you guys want us to say anything in our next podcast, or if you had any questions or comments concerning this one podcast, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. Like the podcast if you liked it. And until next time, like two wise men once said, subscribe. Peace.
Peace.